I know exactly what it feels like when the mathematics of your life completely stop working. You wake up at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling in the dark. You feel a heavy, crushing physical weight pressing down on your chest. You are terrified to look at your bank account because you know the number is zero. Or worse, it is a terrifying, suffocating negative number. Your credit cards are completely maxed out. You decline phone calls from unknown numbers because your stomach drops, knowing it is probably another aggressive debt collector. You feel like you are drowning in the middle of a dark ocean, and the water level is rising every single day. The financial elites on Wall Street, the men in the tailored suits managing billion-dollar hedge funds, they do not want to talk to you. You do not have any capital for them to manage. To the modern financial system, you are invisible. But today I am talking directly to you. I am going to teach you exactly how to rebuild a financial empire from the absolute ashes of zero. The very first thing we must do is perform an emergency psychological operation on your mind. We must remove the poison that is keeping you paralyzed. Society has convinced you that being broke or being deeply in debt is a moral failure. You feel a deep, toxic sense of shame. You feel like a bad parent, a bad provider, or a fundamental failure of a human being. You must immediately stop thinking this way. I need you to completely separate your self-worth from your net worth. Your financial collapse is not a moral failing. It is simply a mathematical error. And more importantly, it is a mathematical error that the global financial system was meticulously designed to make you commit. The system does not want you to be wealthy. The modern economy thrives and expands entirely on the financial illiteracy of the working class. From the moment you got your first job, you were bombarded with predatory lending. You were handed high-interest credit cards before you even understood how compound interest works. You were aggressively brainwashed by a consumer culture that demands you buy things you cannot afford to impress people who do not even care about you. You were placed in a maze that was explicitly designed to trap you in a cycle of endless debt. You made mistakes, yes, but you were playing a game that was rigged against you from the start. But here is the harsh, unforgiving truth that you must accept if you want to survive. While the system may be rigged, blaming the system will not pay your rent tomorrow. Complaining about the billionaire class will not put food on your family's table. You are at the absolute bottom of a dark canyon, and nobody is coming to save you. No politician is going to rescue you. No magical lottery ticket is going to fix your life. No secret cryptocurrency tip is going to drop a rope down to pull you out of the darkness. The rescue mission relies entirely on you. You must become your own savior. To do this, you must accept absolute brutal responsibility for your current coordinates. You cannot chart a course to freedom if you refuse to look at the map that shows you are currently in hell. Most people in massive debt practice a deadly habit called financial avoidance. They throw the credit card bills in the trash without opening them. They ignore the math, hoping a miracle will happen. Miracles do not happen in finance. Only math happens. Tonight, you must sit down at your kitchen table with a blank piece of paper and a pen. You must open every single envelope. You must log into every single account. You must write down the exact, ugly, terrifying numerical reality of your debt, down to the very last penny. You must stop hiding from the numbers. You must stop lying to your spouse about how much you actually owe. And most importantly, you must stop lying to yourself. Look at that piece of paper. That number is your enemy. But it is just a number. It is not a reflection of your soul. When you finally look the monster in the eye, something incredible happens. The terror begins to fade. The unknown is always scarier than the known. Many people are terrified of hitting absolute zero, but I am telling you, zero is not a tragedy. Zero is a massive victory. When you finally claw your way out of negative $50,000 and reach exactly $0, you will have defeated the system. Zero is not hell. Zero is a clean slate. Zero is the true starting line of your life. But to get to zero, we must stop the bleeding immediately. We must ruthlessly slash the financial deadweight from your lifestyle. Let us look at the exact steps you must take tomorrow morning. Now that you have looked the monster in the eye and you know the exact numerical reality of your debt, it is time to act. When people hit absolute rock bottom, their first instinct is usually to look for a magical offensive weapon. They look for a high-risk investment, a volatile cryptocurrency, or a lottery ticket that will magically erase $30,000 of debt overnight. This is the exact mindset that keeps the working class permanently impoverished. You cannot invest your way out of a burning house. If you are carrying credit card debt at a 25% interest rate, there is no legal investment on the planet that will outpace that mathematical destruction. Before you can build an empire, you must stop the bleeding. You must perform a ruthless, precise financial surgery on your current lifestyle. To do this, we must identify and eliminate the silent killer of the modern middle and lower classes. I call it the ego tax. The ego tax is the premium you pay to convince people you do not even like that you have money you do not actually possess. Look around you. You see people who earn $40,000 a year driving a $45,000 car. They are paying $600 a month for a vehicle that mathematically depreciates the second they turn the key. They are carrying a $1,000 smartphone in their pocket, paying $30 a month for multiple streaming services, and spending $15 a day on premium coffee and food delivery. They do this because society has conditioned them to fear looking poor more than actually being poor. They are buying the temporary illusion of wealth, and they are paying for it with their permanent freedom. If you are at zero, or if you are in the negative, you can no longer afford the ego tax. You must immediately declare a state of financial emergency. Starting tomorrow morning, you are going to put your lifestyle into absolute quarantine. You are going to cancel every single subscription service. You do not need to watch the newest television show when your financial house is on fire. You are going to stop eating in restaurants entirely. You will buy basic groceries, you will cook your own meals, and you will eat rice and beans if you have to. Consider the automobile. I have often observed people who are drowning in debt, yet they continue to drive cars with heavy monthly payments. In their minds, they believe it is a necessity or a status symbol. But in the cold mathematics of wealth creation, a finance car is not a status symbol. It is a heavy iron anchor dragging them straight to the bottom of the ocean. When a person truly wants to escape the trap, they do not cling to depreciating assets. They downgrade. They take the bus. They ride a bicycle. Or they buy a simple, inexpensive vehicle in cash that merely gets them from point A to point B. When you start executing this financial surgery, something highly predictable is going to happen. You are going to experience massive social resistance. Your friends and your coworkers will notice the change. They will invite you out for expensive dinners and weekend drinks. When you tell them you cannot go because you are on a $0 budget, they will look at you strangely. They will call you cheap. They will say you are taking things too seriously. They will tell you that you need to live a little. You must ignore them completely. Let them laugh. Remember, the people mocking your discipline are likely drowning in the exact same debt trap you are trying to escape. They are deeply uncomfortable with your new behavior because your discipline highlights their lack of control. Isolation is the price of salvation. You are separating yourself from the herd of the financially blind. Take every single dollar you save from eliminating the ego tax and hurl it violently at your debt. Attack the highest interest rates first. Treat every $100 you pay off as a life-saving breath of oxygen. This process will not be fast, and it will not be glamorous. It will require months, perhaps even years of brutal monastic discipline. There will be days when you feel incredibly tired and unfairly punished. But I want you to visualize the exact moment you make that final payment. I want you to imagine logging into your banking app, looking at the screen, and seeing that your debt is finally wiped out. Your net worth is exactly $0. As I said before, most people fear zero. But when you climb out of the dark canyon of debt, 0 is the most beautiful number in the universe. 0 means the interest is no longer compounding against you. 0 means the debt collectors can no longer call your phone. 0 means you finally own 100% of your own life. Reaching 0 is your graduation day from the financial matrix. But 0 is only the baseline. Once you have stopped the bleeding, the real game begins. You have no money, but you now possess the single most valuable asset on earth. We must now talk about your only remaining capital and how to weaponize your time when your bank account is empty. We have successfully stopped the bleeding. You have eliminated the ego tax. You have cut the dead weight, and you have survived the social isolation. But now, you are sitting at your kitchen table facing a terrifying reality. You look at your bank account and the balance is exactly 0. You have no cash to invest in the stock market. You have no capital to acquire real estate. You cannot start a traditional business. The standard rules of wealth creation seem completely locked away behind a massive iron door. This is the exact moment where 99% of people surrender. They believe that because they have no financial money, they have no capital at all. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of what capital actually is. Money is simply stored energy, but it is not the only form of energy. When your financial capital is completely wiped out, you must pivot immediately to your ultimate remaining asset. You must learn to weaponize your time and your cognitive focus. Every single human being on earth, whether they are a billionaire in a penthouse or a broke laborer sleeping on a friend's couch, receives the exact same daily deposit 24 hours. When you have no money, time is the only currency you have left to trade. But the tragedy of the lower income class is how violently they waste their remaining currency. Let us look at what happens when a broke person finishes their 8-hour shift. They come home physically tired and emotionally defeated by the reality of their poverty because their life currently feels like a nightmare. Their brain desperately seeks an escape. They do not want to think about the zero in their bank account. So they reach for the cheap instant dopamine to numb the pain. They open social media and scroll for 3 hours, watching other people live, fake glamorous lives. They play video games to feel a false sense of achievement. They watch endless hours of television, or they go to the bar to complain about the economy with other broke people. This is not relaxation. This is absolute financial self-sabotage. When you give your evening hours away to entertainment platforms, you are taking your only remaining capital and voluntarily handing it over to multi-billion-dollar technology companies. You are making them richer while you ensure your own permanent financial trap. If you want to escape the cycle, you must undergo a radical shift in how you view the clock. You work 8 hours to pay for your basic survival. You sleep 8 hours to repair your biological hardware. That leaves you with 8 hours. Let us be extremely conservative and focus on just 4 of those hours, the window between 6 o'clock in the evening and 10 o'clock at night. Those 4 hours are your rescue fund. Those 4 hours are the seed capital for your new empire. If you squander those 4 hours on entertainment, you are actively choosing to be poor tomorrow. But if you protect those 4 hours with the absolute aggression of a hungry predator, you can buy your freedom. To execute this, you must build an absolute defense system around your evenings. Poor people love to spend their time on things that do not pay them. They argue with strangers on the internet about politics. They worry about the personal lives of celebrities. They spend hours helping a lazy friend move a couch just to be nice. You must stop being nice. You are financially bankrupt. You cannot afford to give your time away to anyone or anything that does not increase your market value. When you come home at 6 o'clock, you must lock the door. You must put your smartphone in another room. You must turn off the television. You must treat those 4 hours exactly like a hedge fund manager treats $1 billion investment portfolio. You do not let anyone touch it. You do not let any distractions interrupt it. You sit down in absolute silence. But first, sitting in silence without the distraction of a screen will feel physically uncomfortable. Your brain will beg you to check your messages. It will beg you to turn on a movie. You must endure the discomfort. You must stare at the blank wall until your mind accepts that there is no escape. Because once you eliminate the cheap distractions, your brain will finally have the bandwidth to focus on the one thing that can actually save you. You will stop consuming and you will start learning. You will take those 4 hours of raw time and you will convert them into high income, irreplaceable skills. And that brings us to the next crucial phase of the restart blueprint. We must discuss exactly how to stop being a replaceable laborer and how to use those 4 hours to manufacture absolute leverage. We have secured your 4 hours. You have locked the door. You have eliminated the cheap dopamine, and you are sitting in absolute silence. Now, we must put that time to work. We must address the most brutal, unforgiving truth about the global labor market. The market is a cold, emotionless, calculating machine. It does not pay you based on your moral goodness. It does not pay you based on your physical exhaustion. And it certainly does not care how much you need the money to feed your children. The market pays you based on one metric, and one metric only: how difficult you are to replace. If the system can pull a random person off the street and train them to do your exact job in 72 hours, your economic value is effectively zero. It does not matter if you are sweating for 8 hours a day. You are a biological consumable. You are a highly replaceable gear in a wealth-generating machine owned by someone else. This is why working harder at a minimum wage job will never make you rich. You can work 80 hours a week. You can destroy your back and your knees, but multiplying a microscopic hourly rate by a few more hours still equals mathematical poverty. To escape the $0 trap, you must undergo a fundamental metamorphosis. You must transform yourself from a replaceable laborer into an irreplaceable asset. And you will do this using the 4 evening hours we just secured. Society will tell you that the only way to become valuable is to borrow $80,000, go into massive student debt, and spend 4 years sitting in a university classroom. This is another sophisticated trap designed to keep the middle class trapped. You are starting at zero. You do not have the time, the luxury, or the capital for traditional credentials. What you need right now is micro-skill leverage. A micro-skill is a highly specific, aggressively narrow capability that solves a very expensive problem for businesses or individuals. For the next 6 months, you are going to use your 4 hours of absolute silence to master one of these skills. You can learn complex digital marketing. You can learn how to write software code. You can learn advanced data analysis. Or you can even master a highly specialized physical trade like advanced plumbing or electrical diagnostics. The internet contains the greatest entirely free library of human knowledge ever assembled in history. The information is not hidden from you. It is simply waiting for someone with the brutal discipline to sit down and consume it. During this 6-month sprint, you will likely not see a single dollar of financial return. You will study in the dark. Your friends will still be laughing at your $0 budget and your refusal to go to the bar. But let them laugh while they are physically and mentally depreciating on the couch. You are compounding your internal market value. Then the mathematical flip occurs. When you finally enter the marketplace with an irreplaceable skill, the physics of your income completely change. You are no longer selling your physical time. You are selling the solution to a specific problem. A replaceable laborer swings a hammer for $15 an hour. A specialist walks into a factory, knows exactly which specific bolt to hit with a hammer to fix $1 million machine, and charges $5,000 for 5 minutes of work. That is leverage. You must become the specialist. When you possess a rare and lucrative skill, employers and clients can no longer dictate your worth. You dictate your worth. You stop asking for permission to survive, and you start negotiating from a position of absolute power. This is the exact mechanism of how you transfer yourself from the bottom of the economic pyramid to the secure middle class and beyond. You use the raw, unrefined capital of your evening time to manufacture absolute leverage. But manufacturing this leverage is only the preparation. Once you possess the skill, you must execute the most difficult financial maneuver of your entire life. You must secure your first real capital, and more importantly, you must learn how to protect it from the psychological demons that will immediately try to steal it back. Let us move to the final critical stage of the restart blueprint. We must discuss the brutal mathematics of your first $1,000 and how to build the snowball that will eventually crush your previous life. You have executed the financial surgery, you have endured the social isolation, you have taken your 4 evening hours and manufactured absolute leverage. Now we must talk about the execution. We must talk about the most difficult money you will ever earn in your entire life, your first $1,000. The financial media loves to talk about making your first million, but the true test of a human being is making the first $1,000 from absolute zero. Why? Because to generate that first $1,000, you had to completely dismantle your old identity. You had to destroy the consumer mindset and build a producer mindset from scratch. When you finally deploy your new micro skill, when you solve a specific expensive problem for a client and they hand you a check for $1,000, you will experience a psychological shift that cannot be accurately described. That money is fundamentally different. It is not a standard paycheck given to you by a boss who rents your biological time. It is capital that you generated from thin air using nothing but the leverage of your own upgraded mind. But listen to me very carefully. This is exactly the moment where the system sets its final, most dangerous trap. The moment you see that first $1,000 sitting in your bank account, a psychological demon will wake up. It will whisper in your ear. It will tell you that you have worked hard. It will tell you that you deserve a reward. It will tell you to buy a new phone, to go out to an expensive dinner, to upgrade your apartment, or to finally finance that new car you have been dreaming about. This mechanism is called lifestyle creep, and it is the exact phenomenon that drags the middle class right back down to zero. You must ruthlessly reject this urge. You must lock that money away. Even though you are making money, you must continue to live like you are absolutely broke. You continue to eat the basic meals. You continue to drive the rusty $3,000 car. You maintain the monastic discipline that got you out of the canyon in the first place. You take that $1,000 and you use it as absolute fuel. You reinvest it into better software, deeper education, and expanding your leverage. This is how the compounding machine is actually built. It starts as a tiny, fragile snowball, but as you push it, as you strictly refuse to consume it, it gains mass. The first 1,000 becomes 10,000, the 10,000 becomes 100,000. Suddenly, the physics of your reality invert. The money is now working harder than you are. You have successfully shifted from trading time for money to trading capital for absolute freedom. People look at billionaires and they feel a deep sense of envy, but I will tell you a profound secret. A man who inherits $1 million from his family is fundamentally fragile. If the market crashes and he loses his inheritance, he is completely destroyed. He panics because he does not know how the machine was built. He only knows how to consume its output. But you started at absolute zero. You stared into the terrifying abyss of debt. You sacrificed your comfort, you protected your focus, and you built your empire block by block in the dark. If the global economy collapses tomorrow and a massive recession wipes out your entire bank account, returning you back to zero, you will not panic because you understand the math. You know that they can take your money, but they can never take the irreplaceable skills you forged during those 4 hours of silence. You possess the most powerful compounding asset in the universe, a resilient, upgraded human mind. You can start at zero again tomorrow morning and rebuild your entire empire twice as fast. The modern system wants you exhausted, distracted, and deeply in debt. It wants you to believe that hitting zero is the end of your story. But now you know the cold, unforgiving truth. Zero is not the end. Zero is the true beginning. Stop consuming the daily noise. Stop paying the ego tax. Reclaim your time, build your leverage, and protect your snowball. The escape pod is ready. The door is open. It is time to climb out of the dark. That's all. Thanks for watching.